What's up? This is Thursday, May 23rd, 2024. I'm your host, John Ting. I practice immigration law in the United States, helping you solve your immigration problem, maybe just point you in the right direction. Welcome to the channel. Now, of course, if you're interested in our services, it'll be our pleasure to assist you. And the best way to do that, to seek our services, you can DM us. But really, the best way is going to the profile page, about page, and clicking the link under my profile picture, okay? That can get you scheduled for a meeting. And please know that first meeting is not with an attorney. It's one of our team members, trained team members every single day. They understand different scenarios, but they cannot give you legal advice. That's what our attorneys are for after you authorize us to help you. Um, by the way, on YouTube, it's backwards, but for TikTok and Instagram, you can see it correctly this time. I don't know why the different platforms do it that way. Hey, Roots and Routes, congratulations to you. Glad you got the combo card approved. Did you even get the receipt notice before the combo card? I wouldn't be surprised if you got the combo card before the receipt notice. At least you got that. All right. Well, I do have some news to share with you. But in the meantime, while I share, usually I go start. If you're new to the channel, I usually start the show with a couple minutes about a topic, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions. So in the meantime, go ahead and type in your question, or maybe even share your experience. We greatly appreciate it, just like Roots and Routes did a couple seconds ago. All right, so green card backlog skyrocketing. Okay. This might be news to you, right? If you have not filed before, then you likely have not been following other attorneys or just legal immigration news. And it's significantly backlogged, especially for people who are outside the United States. We call that consular processing. Now, for people who are in the United States, we call that adjustment of status. But because more people are applying, inherently that's going to create a backlog. But also, because for some reason, some of you are applying and filing the package. You may have done everything correct, but you didn't provide the medical exam. And that by itself is gonna slow down the process because they need to have the medical exam if you're applying for residency in the United States. So if you have not filed your package quite yet, okay, your immigration paperwork, there's a bunch of forms, not just one. Please, I highly recommend you include the medical exam results, all the pages of it, in a sealed envelope. Okay, the medical clinic is supposed to give it to you in a sealed envelope. Very, very important. You cannot open it. If USCIS and like the medical clinic, they literally put a bunch of pieces of tape on it, so you can very clearly tell, and even the officer can very clearly tell if it's been tampered with. And I think they even put a stamp: "Do not open." And so some people get a little interested. It's okay. Of course, you want to know your results. Then just ask the clinic if you can get an extra copy of your results. Simple thing. Just do not open it because that's going to slow it down as well. Okay. So the process, in that sense, in terms of getting medical exam results, is different than a case that's abroad. Okay. When your case is abroad, consular processing, you don't do the medical exam until very close, like 1 week before the interview, for example. Okay, which that's also super frustrating too for people who are abroad, because a lot of people are suffering what we call, essentially a backlog, but 221G, or AKA administrative processing. And if it's backlog for so long, not backlog, delayed for so long after the interview, then your medical exam is going to expire. If I recall, medical exams for people abroad expire after 6 months. So that's super frustrating. So in some ways, I'm trying to help prevent some problems from you, delays for you, but also, if anything, to share the expectation so that you're not super stressed. Because, not everyone has a stressful journey in a sense, right? Of course, with our team, we try to provide as smooth as possible journey. And really, because we share the expectations, you know what to expect along the way. So yeah, just keep note of that. I mean, because in 2023, cases for adjustment of status, majority of cases were being waived in terms of the interview. But in 2024, I expect that that's not going to happen for as many cases. Okay, so it's a backlog in a different sense. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense, but they tried to reduce the backlog in 2023 by waiving interviews. So, but because it appears they're back on track in that sense, they might not waive as many. So just, but again, even if you get interview notice, please know, don't be scared. Make sure you have the correct legal counsel for you to prepare you for the interview. Because I do hear of bad experiences when people go them by themselves, but not for everyone. It just depends. You got to be prepared. All right, let's see. Let me answer some questions here. Hey, Sheldon, I'll try to go in order here. Thanks for your comments and questions. Sheldon, if you were seeking asylum and the judge ordered your case dismissed without prejudice, what's the next step? So, if you was seeking asylum, so I'm assuming you filed for asylum 589 form already previously to USCIS. So you basically have to refile that application to USCIS again, but to the HART Center, HART Service Center. It's a new service center. It's the newest one, I believe 6 months ago or about a year ago. So the USCIS website, or if you Google search, there is like a policy memo, or there is there is a policy memo and instruction on how to do that if you don't have an attorney. But the main purpose in that is also to maintain your EAD eligibility in that sense. Okay, hopefully that helps. So Sheldon or anyone else in a similar situation, it's great to have if you file for asylum and it's still pending and your court case got dismissed, that's wonderful. But the court does not notify USCIS for you. Okay, that's on your lawyer to handle that, or you yourself if you don't have a lawyer. Alrighty, let me see. Welcome to the show. Welcome. What's happening? How y'all doing today? How's the weather where you are? It is a bit gloomy. It's kind of weird in Houston. If anyone's visited Houston or live here, it's like humid. But before it gets humid, it's like slightly breezy in the morning, and then all of a sudden, bam! It's like super hot. It's kind of annoying. By the way, on TikTok, they're doing what they think they're doing a good job is by like hiding some comments and filtering comments. But for us, hey, we're just talking about immigration, so there's nothing. So they're hiding some comments on TikTok, but please know I can see it and I'll approve it when I see it. So no, don't worry about copy and pasting because I'm sure that can be stressful as well. I'm here to just make this as stress-free as possible. All right. Isha on TikTok. Hello there. You received an EAD approval. Congrats, but only received SSN and not the actual card, like the work permit. So, I mean, typically it's like 1 to 3 weeks. But look, if it's been like more than 2 months and you still have not received the work permit after the approval notice, then I recommend submitting inquiry on the USCIS tools and resources page. Okay. So hopefully you're in a situation you haven't actually had to wait that long. But the SSN, please note, SSN card is mailed from a different agency. It's not through immigration. At least it shouldn't be. That's from the Social Security Administration. So again, government agencies in the United States, even though we're a world superpower, world power, whatever you call that, world power, agencies don't talk to each other. Okay, folks, they really don't, unfortunately. So you could get the EAD work permit first, or you could get the Social Security card first. They don't really coordinate that well. Okay, I wish they would, because I hear in other countries they know what to do. Let's see. Was it Mr. M. Ruiz on TikTok? How do you start a sibling petition when they have one illegal entry? Hopefully only one, because when you have multiple, that's a permanent bar. Okay. And permanent doesn't necessarily mean permanent. I know it's weird, but permanent means you have to actually stay outside the US for 10 years and then start the process. But Ed Ruiz, if you have a sibling and you are a US citizen, for example, or you have or if you have a sibling who is a US citizen, your sibling can file a petition for you, right? That's step number one. So even if your sibling who doesn't have status is in America, it is problematic right now, but you have to know the game plan for the future. And so you can't just I don't recommend just like waiting around. I don't want to say twiddling your thumbs kind of deal, but if you're eligible to sponsor your sibling, at least for the first step, go ahead and do it. Okay, that's what I recommend without having to go through all the facts with every individual here, but because that's your ticket in line, especially with the visa bulletin. In sibling cases, to get the immigrant visa, that takes at least 10 years, unfortunately, a long time. But when your sibling who has no status is an American, overstayed their visa, or entered illegally, that creates a situation of unlawful presence, right? And failure to maintain status. Those are two different legal concepts. Sometimes they can overlap and be similar, but are technically two different things. So even if a U.S. citizen, and so this is a key difference. I'm like lecturing now, I realize. Sorry. But one quick thing, essentially, is that sibling, if it overstayed or illegal entry, needs a waiver, needs to be eligible for a waiver. But that sibling does not need to be eligible for that waiver right now. Okay, it could be later on. I mean, the petition process and the immigrant visa waiting on the visa bulletin is at least 10 years anyway, currently. And so the other reason to even file this is because back in 2008 ish, when the Gang of Eight in Congress were considering immigration reform, that's 2008, folks. What year is it? 2024. So long ago. That's pretty much like the last probably real conversation for reform, despite what they've been saying when Biden got elected. But back then in 2008, they wanted to get rid of, at least some politicians want to get rid of the F4 category for siblings. So that's why, at least that reason, you should just put the ticket in line, the petition. All righty, let me switch over here. Roots and routes. You got all the receipt notes back in February on the 17th. Okay, great. You're wondering how long it take? Probably a couple weeks. But anything more than 30 days, then you probably want to submit an inquiry. Hey, Chelvin, good to see you. I recognize your name. Your wife's approval for 601, for 601A. If I recall, okay, that's right. You said DACA, still waiting DACA to come in. If I recall, you were possibly filing advance parole for your wife. So, I mean, yeah, so great for the waiver since you got that approved anyway. So maybe you don't need to do the advanced parole in that sense. So it just depends on you and your wife's tolerance in that sense, like what you can stomach. Um, because for 601A waiver, some people, I think you know this, Chelvin, but some people, for anyone else listening, think that, okay, if you get the waiver 601A approved, some people incorrectly believe that that means you could stay here in America. No, that's not the case. You actually still have to have the interview abroad, outside the US, okay? So let's see. But NVC, currently, NVC still is the agency that schedules the interview, okay? But you want to make sure, Chelvin, that NVC is aware that the 601A is approved. There's another example. The two agencies, USCIS, does not communicate with National Visa Center that the waiver has been approved. You got to do that, or that's where lawyers come in and help bridge the gap, okay? So hopefully that helps. Bella, you asked Chelvin how long his wife's processing time was. Yeah, I am curious. You may have shared that with us before. Someone else, where are we located? We are in Houston, Texas. We have a physical office here. Come hang out if you want, if you got time. I probably should eat with my wife more often than I do currently. But hey, if you're in town, come hang out. We'll grab some grub. Got some really good food here in Houston. I'm from the Dallas area, so if you're familiar with Texas and Houston and Dallas, we don't really like each other because of sports and all that. Anyways, go Dallas Mavericks. If you're a fan of basketball and you like the Mavericks, please give some likes. Let's see. Baines on TikTok. What can you do? Your 601A approved to get your approved 601A faster? Um, you might be able to try expedite request. I don't know necessarily. I don't think it's gonna work, but it's hard to try if you believe based on the categories or reasoning by USCIS to even ask for expedite. I know that 485 you cannot. They don't allow that for sure. But I don't believe they told us at 601A you cannot. But if it's been 36 months and you're still waiting for the decision on 601A, then that's when we would file a lawsuit. Okay. So hopefully you don't have to wait that long, but a lot of people have had to wait that long. Okay. Henno and Henfo, what does it mean? You have taken USCIS stated we have taken action on your case, but you don't see any documents or action on your online account. It's almost a month now. Well, how long has your case been processing in general? For example, if we filed a 485 application and it's only been like 2 months or 4 months, they likely did not take any action. It could have been a glitch, but I could be wrong. But I noticed that we have one of our clients, for example, and that's for example because the AOS in general can take 12 months. That's traditional. In 2023, it was 5 to 6 months, right? So it just depends. Like if you filed 2 months ago, then it's a clear indication based on our experience, they didn't take any action. If anything, maybe like when we update, we take over a case as a new attorney and upload or share, mail in our representation form. We call that G28 form. That by itself is considered taking action. So that I know it's ridiculous. So I don't know your exact situation, your facts, but hopefully that's a bit helpful. Appreciate the roses. Thank you so much. Title gifter. I don't think I've seen that before. Oh, that's what you are. Oh, wow. That's a lot of roses. Thanks. Thanks, Jaime. I'll have to look for your question here. In the meantime, I got someone ask a live agent said that an interview has been requested for 485. Should we believe this? um, possibly. Possibly okay. Again, it really depends how long your case was in processing. Because yeah, I mean, you're on point. That live agent on with USCIS could be wrong. Could be wrong because we've had to take over and help new clients in situations where USCIS live agent said something and they were completely wrong. They shouldn't have said anything because the person who called in, our new client, thought that they could rely on that information. So in this situation, I guess your name is a little dot period, but if you're in a situation where you're wondering if an interview is really being scheduled, it's okay. If they're wrong in this situation, that's okay. But there's a good opportunity to gather up your updated evidence. So, for example, if you provided your joint bank account, could have been 5 months ago. So then just go ahead and click your download on your online account and print it off in the meantime. And who knows? You might not even have to provide it. In some interviews, even though I tell my clients, hey, we need A, B, C, all these documents are proven checklists. Sometimes, I mean, I always want to provide it to officer, right? And be polite and say, would you like more evidence? But some officers have told us, no, you're good. No, we good. Because they don't necessarily want to add too many papers. Literally, they physically do not want to add too many papers to their file if they don't have to. When I look inside the officers, I just kind of poke around, look around. Some of them got a lot of files, and boy, it's like literally stacks. If you see my my memes on all these social media channels, like I have a background. Sometimes we have a background of like case files. That's literally how it looks. So they prefer not that many documents. However, when you have the interview, you need to be prepared and have that ready to go. All right. Let me look for Jaime's question because Jaime gave me a lot of. There we go. I found it. I think I found it. Yeah, there we go. Hit me up with some roses here. Appreciate the love. Can you ask me something? You came on K1 and you're getting a divorce. What can you do? So since you're the one that got a K1 and you did get married, yeah, I mean the default rule for someone who entered with a K1 and you don't get married, but you get divorced, then you have to leave. However, there could be other scenarios. When we do our screening or pre-qualified meetings, we want to make sure, like, what are the other options available? So something that comes to mind, but might not be applicable to you or anyone else, is have you been a victim of abuse? It does not have to be physical. It could be, I do quotations, but I mean quotations more of a broad sense, like the definition of emotional. It can mean a lot of different things. It can include your spouse cheated on you. Um, I don't wish that on anyone, of course, but um, it's very, very broad. So that's one of the examples. Another one is called T visa, trafficking visa, and a person does not. It's not the traditional societal definition of trafficking, where like someone's smuggled in or like sex prostitute type of deal, or not deal situation. It can be also including what we call labor trafficking, when someone has not been paid the wages they were supposed to be paid, um, or poor working conditions. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. Oh, and then U visa, a victim of a crime, which means does not have to be someone you actually know or a significant other. All right. A henfo you filed in February 2023. So that's a little over a year ago. I'm assuming the 485. Okay. So yeah, I mean, maybe I got closer to an actual action on your case. Um, if you submitted your medical exam, a henfo on YouTube, then it's a more likely scenario that maybe there was actual action on your case. Because I believe, based on our experience, of course, that if there was some kind of action and you didn't provide something, that they would have just put in like an actual update that says RFE mailed or something like that. MEKH on Instagram, you're on L1B. I-94 says you have permission to stay until June 2026. And can you look for a new employer and continue to remain in the U.S. until 2026? I don't know if I would quit that job right now. Okay, it's completely different than like H-1B, because your L visa is specific to that employer in the sense that you had at least 1 year experience with that company before. So you wouldn't, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but you wouldn't be able to transfer to L1 visa to L1 visa with another company. So an H-1B is very limited in terms of exception, because the default for H-1B, if you have a degree, undergrad degree, or bachelor's or master's degree, the default rule for the registration window for that is in March. Okay, it's like for 2 weeks in March. It's not even for that long. It's ridiculous. Some people spend thousands of dollars getting a degree in America, and then there's limited spots. It's like 86,000, something like that, for H-1B for first timers. So first time applicants in a sense. Um, so yeah, hopefully that's helpful. I don't know if I would quit that job. I mean, if it's if it's like a bad working environment, then culture, of course, and that's different. So good luck. But just because you have I-94 valid until a certain time, that doesn't mean you can necessarily just stay until that time. That's only assuming it's like terms and conditions. When you click something on online, there's terms and conditions that no one ever clicks on. They just click bypass or go to the next one. This is a similar situation. Like just because it says authorized stay until June 2026 doesn't necessarily mean you can stay here in America until that time, but not work for that company. I hope that's helpful. Let's see here. Suleiman Khan on TikTok. You're welcome, MEKH. Yeah, right. I mean, if you think about it, like you can't find this. I think some most of the stuff I'm saying, I don't think you can find that online. Like maybe in a super obscure blog, maybe Reddit. But then how many threads you have to read through Reddit, right? Like I look up like car stuff on Reddit. Like there's so many threads. It's kind of crazy. I wish I could organize it better. Ideas. If you're an entrepreneur like me, then you have a lot of ideas. There's too many. All right, Suleiman Khan, you have some mistake on your DS260 and it has already went to NVC. How can you fix the mistake? Well, hopefully it's not detrimental, okay, kind of a mistake. But if anything, you would update because once it's like submitted, click submit. Yeah, you can't change it, but I would recommend in that case at least updating the visa officer when you have the interview. So hopefully it's not something that I can't anticipate right now, future predict what could prevent it being scheduled for an interview when related to DS260. But whatever the update needs to be, you definitely want to have a good reason to explain to them, confidently explain why you made that mistake. Okay. And keep that in mind. It's a mistake, not intentional. Wink, wink. Alrighty. Let's see here. Let me scroll down. All right, Chris. Chris Eduardo on TikTok. Can you marry again? Give a green card to your second wife if you already done it once. Yeah, absolutely. You can do it a bunch of times. Fortunately, there's no restriction on that. Um, but they do ask, okay, on the I-130 petition, can't remember exactly what page. Um, on the I-130 petition, that would be for you, Chris, to sign as the petitioner. Um, and I'm pretty sure the I-130A also ask, but in a different way, in the perspective of the beneficiary, the immigrant, so your wife in this situation. Okay, if you have filed for someone else, or in her situation, if anyone else has filed for her. Okay, so I don't really know if they look at. Well, I do know. I do know that at least for the beneficiary's perspective purpose, they do look at prior files if someone else filed for her. Okay, for the immigrant. But for the petitioner side, I'm not quite sure. But I would think they do investigate just to like double, triple could check if there was any kind of marriage fraud. Um, but hopefully that's helpful. Yes, you can. We have plenty of clients that file second, third time for a different spouse. All right, let's see here. Raj now on TikTok. How long does it take to complete AP after submitting requested documents? Um, Probably at least 6 months. So that's why for us, we have a new rule with our team the past several months is that we don't for a delay after administrative processing 601. I'm sorry, not 601, 221G administrative processing. We don't file lawsuits until at least 6 months after the interview. And again, assuming you have provided everything, which most people, just like you, Raj, a lot of people submit everything they were asked about like the same day or next day. And you would think that they would do something like the following week. But no, no, no. The US government doesn't want to make it that easy for you. They sure don't. Number one, they rely on subcontracted companies, essentially, to help process the background check. Look, we found this website where if we want the FBI background check, we just paid, maybe I don't know I can't remember what the amount is, but less than $100, probably like $30 or something, and we can get the FBI background check results in 24 hours. And that's just me as a private person, okay? So if the US government is a government, right, that has all these resources available to them, and they somehow take 6 months on average, minimum, come on, think about it. Number one super world power is slowing things down on purpose, okay? Okay, so I complain about a lot of things immigration related. You know this if you've been watching, tuning in live. But I'm really here ultimately to help you to understand the expectations, okay? To understand the expectations so that especially if you have a family petition that you sponsored by a sibling, that you shouldn't expect it to happen in 2 weeks' time or 2 years later when you just filed 2 years ago, right? So because heck, in law school, they don't teach us how to decipher to understand visa bulletin. I had to learn that from others, myself. Okay, workshops, things like that. U.S. government is not in the business of making it easy for us, for anyone. So knowing that, go ahead and give me a follow. Okay, if you're new to the channel, especially if you're returning and you haven't followed, you know what to do. Go ahead and give it a follow. Subscribe down below. All right. Let's see here. Let's answer the next question here. Boy, it looks like I missed a couple here, so I apologize. Let me try to go back in order. Alrighty. Okay, folks. So this is a good time for me to say that I sometimes miss other comments and questions because other folks copy and paste their question multiple times. Please don't do that. You don't have to. It really throws me off to be able to answer other people's question. Um, Shoot. See, there we go. Okay, I think I found. Oh boy. Okay, there we go. About here, I believe. Okay, Munti, California on TikTok. Can you get married to someone that came on a work visa and never left? What is the pro? Oh wait, I clicked. Oh great. See, sorry, I clicked on. I thought I clicked on the right one. It's Kicks asked, can you get married to someone that came on a work visa and never left? What is the process? So first, preferably if you're the sponsor that you are a U.S. citizen. If you currently a permanent resident, that's okay. You can file a petition now, but for legal reasons, I recommend you become a citizen. Okay. Now you still can't file a petition now if you're a resident, but anyway. So yes, you can file for someone even if they overstay their visa. This means they entered with a visa in the first place without knowing any other fact. That's the basic first requirements that we check to make sure that person is eligible to at least apply for adjustment of status in the United States. Okay. Meaning you don't have to leave the United States for the interview if there is one. Charze one. You're under F2B category since 2016, still counting. Seems illegal. Migrants passing the border are preferred to any legal means. That's too long of a time. So I get it. A lot of people on social media everywhere, even my friends, conservative friends, are thinking, all these migrants come in the U.S. There is not a green card waiting for them at the border. Okay, folks. Okay, so if anything, you could do the same thing as them, hypothetically. I mean, I don't recommend it. You may have heard of this thing called humanitarian parole. And some people don't like it because um, it allows people inside US. Please know, don't get don't try to compare yourself to that situation because there's pros and cons to humanitarian parole in the first place. I mean, that allows someone to come in, but there's a lot of people that applied for humanitarian parole since it first started. It still didn't get any indication. So if you're complaining about like you're not getting updates on your case, a lot of other thousands of people haven't got any update on that because humanitarian parole is a discretionary thing. Now, and if you're also talking about people who are, um, what's it called? People who are, and just politically speaking, and I won't go too much in politics. I know a lot of people want their question answered. Um, it's really to, in some way, control the flow of migrants anyway, because migrants were coming, people were coming in to the United States anyway, right, illegally from those countries of were eligible for humanitarian parole. So, if anything, it's meant to help control the flow, right? And so, because it's not an entitlement thing, it's not going to be just because someone applies for humanitarian parole does not mean someone's going to get it automatically approved. So that's, I can go on and on, but that's the gist of that one. Thanks, Lucas, for the flower. Um, but but in all but in seriousness of a different pathway, okay, Charzy number one on Instagram or anyone else. Let's say you're sponsored by someone else, a family member as a family preference because it takes too long. Build up your resume, get some work experience where you're at right now, okay? And maybe you already know a business owner, or maybe you have friends in America. And even if you don't have homies in America, there is social media. It's just so many different ways to get connected with people across the world. It's kind of like having a pen pal. Like, talk to your pen pal. That's weird. When's the last time you heard the phrase pen pal? Talk to your pen pal, all right? See if they know any owners or companies that could hire for a position that could possibly be similar to your work experience. Okay. You don't necessarily need to have a degree to get sponsored for a green card. It can be under the subcategory of what we call unskilled workers or skilled workers. Skilled workers is more like when you need a certificate to do that job. But that's at least a 2-year process in separately from the visa bulletin. But if you do have a degree, uh, bachelor's or master's from America, and you're abroad, then you could do H-1B. But again, that registration window is in March. But you need to get to know those companies and apply for those jobs before March, okay? Because you need to build up that rapport before the March registration window. All right, because just my experience of talking to other HR consultants, companies in general are slow to just to do the interview process. They're super slow. We try to do it faster. We've been slow in the past, but I've learned better to be faster. Absolutely, Churze. Hopefully, glad that that helped a bit. Yeah, so continue building up that resume because who knows if you know your work experience from your country or if you get a visa to another country, maybe your work resume or CV can get to a point where maybe you could even self petition. Maybe you get like recognized on a national scale or global scale around the world in your specific niche, right? Like you said, data scientist, that's pretty, like, that's over my head, of course, right? But like, and you also, if you want to be, what do you call self petition, not rely on another company, then you need to consider how that can be a benefit to the United States. Okay, not necessarily benefit to your like local area, like Houston, Texas, only. So you have to think about it in a government perspective or economic scale. All right, but you can be what we call like extraordinary ability and have a resume that's built up and still have a company sponsor you. So there's multiple ways. All right. Of course, it's not meant to be a webinar, folks. But if you are interested in topics like this, like Charze asked, um, send us a DM, okay? I think on at least TikTok, we were able to update it and have you click the link under the profile picture. If you scroll all the way down, there should be a webinar request, or if you want to be invited to a webinar. Okay, we're rolling that out. I've been saying that for several months. We're really trying to roll that out soon. Alrighty, let's see here. Just to keep y'all updated, I should be on for another 10 minutes. Thank you so much for the questions. Thanks for your trust. Uh, Muti, there we go. I found her name again. Muti on TikTok. How long to wait to get receipt after submit asylum? Generally, because it's a new service center, first of all, we don't handle asylum. We only help with the mandamus lawsuit if you've been waiting for at least 40 years on asylum application. But but I suspect when there's a new service center that's handling asylum cases to receive it, it could take at least a month. So that's a roughly 4 to 5 weeks. Okay, to give you an idea. All right, let's see here. Trying to work through the questions here. Meka on TikTok. What's the process of F1? Do you mean as a student adjusting status after marriage? Let's see what your full comment is. Oh, it went away. Dang it. Oh, there it is. I don't know what you mean. I think I know what you mean. I just maybe misread the question. So it sounds like you have not filed for adjustment of status through marriage, but yes, if your question is, can you do that as an F1 student? Yes, you can. You can still be on non-immigrant visa status. Doesn't matter which non-immigrant visa. F1 is one of them. Now, I mean, we've had some clients where the F1 student, was living in a different location, right? Because maybe they're on campus at the dorm, or even if it's the U.S. citizen spouse who is in college and the other person is not in college anymore, maybe just graduated, but their job is somewhere else. We've been able to do that. But Mecca, that might not really be answering your question. So please ask a detailed one, and maybe I can run into it when I scroll. Bella on YouTube, how long is the 601 form taking to process? If you're not talking about the 601A, but you're talking about 601, that's 24 months from the last time I checked, about a couple weeks ago. Okay, but the 601A, a different form number application, that's taken about 36 months. All of these forms, I don't think it should take that long, but that's just the way the government is just controlling the flow right now, folks. Let's see. The waiver applications, in all seriousness, do take more effort, I guess you could say, on the government side to actually review it. But the thing is, they don't actually review it until X time, many, many months later. It's not like you file your application and then they quickly review it, right? Like when you authorize our team to help you, they're on board, we're getting started. Like we're not going to wait 3 months to get to you. Like some law firms are like that. It's kind of weird, in my opinion. But so if you are looking for a law firm and you're not considering us, all good. No offense taken, but ask that attorney or that law firm how soon they're gonna file your case and how often you can talk to them. Like I even asked because we're so intentional with our law firm here at Teen Law Group, Green Card Guys Law Group. I've even asked my own professional vendors or my like CPA, my bookkeeping team, how often can I ask you questions? How often can we just have a meeting? And I'm trying to tell them, look, I don't want to hang out with you all the time, but like literally, I may have some questions. I need to know because I don't want to create this situation like, oh, you're bugging me too much, and so they don't respond to me because I'm bugging them too much. Some attorneys think that way too, so that's why we just go out there and just share that you can self schedule a meeting with your attorney or with your client advocates. We call our paralegals client advocates, which is a bit more intentional. All right, here on Brian on TikTok, can you get advanced parole if you have work permit? I think you mean like you have work permit already. Yes, you can apply for it if you want. It's the 131 form. You did not have to apply at the same time. But now, if you're filing now, it is a separate fee. All right, let's see here. N NAIN on TikTok as will 601A speed up this year? I don't think so. Maybe next year. That's what I sense. Just my spidey senses. Fridman Valdez, would CBP give you issues if another country that's not your home country using combo card? Not that I'm aware of. I mean, we try our best to put like 5 different countries on behalf of our clients. We usually put the country of nationality, um, Mexico, Canada, just because they're bordering countries. But of course, if a client knows in advance where they prefer to travel, or maybe because their friend's getting married or something, we will put that country as well. But I'm not sure if CBP looks at that application, right? Because they're just looking at now, unless for some reason your approval notice from the 131 specifically states that you can only go to X country. But I haven't seen that before. And I also have, if this is some kind of assurance, I have not heard of someone having to reapply for another 131, even though they have one already for a specific country that they've listed on the form. So I hope that helps a bit. All right, I'm just scrolling down here. I think, do I see the same comment in two different? There we go. Enzo Bafam. There we go. So, by the way, hot tip: if you're on TikTok, because I get a lot of questions here on TikTok, but there's a little trick here. If you get on YouTube, I don't get as many comments on YouTube. You can get more of my attention there because it's just easier, to be honest. Like TikTok, some of y'all copy and paste, and it's just hard. Okay, so we got Enzo Bafam is a citizen and wants to apply for your 14-year-old for a 5-year green card. Which form do you file? So you got to file the I-130 first, okay? You have to show that your child is a resident first. No, it's super ridiculous. Unless for some reason your child is considered a automatic citizen already, in a sense, but generally you have to show that your child is a resident, and then like right after that you can apply for N400 for your child. Not N400, N600. Okay, so, but yeah, just double check that. Double check the rules on that. Okay, because strangely, to become a citizen, especially related to children, is a bit more complex than I feel like it needs to be. So definitely, it's easier in this situation to have a strategy session. Okay, but thank you for asking. So this is a good time to say, yes, my name is John Ting. I am a licensed attorney in Texas, and I'm supposed to tell you this is legal information, tips, but this is not legal advice. Okay, if you want legal advice, for most law firms in America, you got to pay a consultation fee, which we allow, or you authorize us to help you in the first place as a client. In our first meeting with your onboard meeting, we have one with your client advocate, the paralegal, and also one with your attorney. And so when our attorneys meet with you, that is when they can verify 100% whether we can help you or not. Okay. More so to make sure that we cannot help you in a sense, because our other team members are able to verify. But when it becomes a possibly complex situation, like for example, CSPA, um, I mean, there's a couple other scenarios, but where there needs to be a lot more research, you still need to authorize us. I know it may seem strange to do that. You need to authorize us because our attorneys are focused on filing and preparing the cases properly. Okay. Their time is not meant for consultations only. Okay. That's just not how our business or other law firms work. But some do. Some only care about consultations. We actually want to help you get legal status all the way through. Okay, so it's a little bit different concept than other law firms. Bidkar Salazar, can you petition an adult brother who re-enter illegally after voluntary expedited deportation? Oh, that's a mouthful. Well, first of all, that is a permanent bar. So permanent bar means um, does not mean a family member cannot get legal status in the future, but that person, in order to get legal status for someone who has a permanent bar, you actually have to wait 10 years outside America. And so when there's a permanent bar, there is no waiver application to file to waive the bar, if that makes sense. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful. Um, Now you say voluntary expedited deportation. When people use the word expedited, that sounds like literally on the document expedited. Okay, expedite return. So maybe that document can mention 5-year bar, and so maybe it's a different scenario. But there's another another situation that you may want to pay for a consultation, or your brother may want to consider paying for a consultation to verify that, because the words are even voluntary deportation. A lot of attorneys I know, like myself, would ask, well, do you really mean voluntary deportation, or is it more like a voluntary return? Like some people, to kind of explain the difference, voluntary return, there might be an opening to get legal status when it's a voluntary return, more like they called it by customs like catch and release. So they have caught someone, like physically, like stop them, right? And say, hey, we got you, but just turn around and go back across the border, kind of deal. So if it's more like that and not a formal removal order, aka deportation order, then there might be more flexibility there. Okay, we just want to verify. Hopefully, that's a bit helpful. So don't want to be completely bad news bears, but definitely get that documentation, or your brother if he doesn't have it currently. Alrighty. Hope you all doing well. I don't know why. It feels like Friday. Maybe because the weather is a little bit gloomy in Houston, but it is Thursday. Okay. Okay, big card, then that's good. That's good so far. Okay, that's good. So what we would do in that situation, we would request, we call it investigate quote. We would investigate further and file and request essentially history, a file history on your brother's case, whether it's by essentially by name. Okay, if there's no A number, that's fine. Of course, that would help to identify the file, but we would do it by name. And sometimes you have to do like enter an alias, because sometimes those government workers. Sorry, sorry if you're a government worker. I apologize, but those government workers, might not input, and that's because by real experience, even from the court clerks, they just input one little thing wrong, like Class A misdemeanor versus Class B. Oh my god, it's crazy. That's like significantly different results for immigration wise consequences. So I'm glad we caught that. So your brother might have an opportunity, but ultimately, if you're wondering, Bidcar, if like if he could get sponsored, if the reliance is on you in the sense to sponsor your brother, I mentioned it earlier, but some of y'all might join the show a little bit later on. Um, and your brother's in US, he has to show by default that he has maintained status. So of course has not done that. Doesn't sound like it. Then need to be eligible for a waiver. And to be eligible for a waiver for unlawful presence, it's what's it called? It's a spouse or a parent who's a U.S. citizen or resident to be a qualifying relative for a waiver. Unfortunately, it does not include children who have status, even if he does have children. I know it's ridiculous. Alrighty, let's see here. Whew, I got a lot of meetings on my schedule, so I could stay on for about 5 more minutes, I believe. Let me make sure my calendar. Okay. Thank goodness for technology. I can like message my team while doing a live show on multiple platforms. Isn't that kind of wild these days? Do you all have a live show, by the way? Hit me up. Let me know. If you have a live show, I'll come hang out and see, check it out. send me a DM. I'd love to support y'all as well if I can. Um, give y'all a follow. Let's see here. Okay, let me answer the next question. I think this is next. All right, on TikTok, S1995 Sweet. Can you get a work permit if you applied for U visa? Absolutely. You definitely can for that. We call that, you need to have a bona fide determination, BFD, and then you can use that document as proof to get that work permit. Okay. So we do file lawsuits. If it's been more than a year and you file for the 765 based on U visa and you still haven't gotten it, you have to wait at least 1 year. Okay. Shen on TikTok asks, how much is that? What is our consultation fee? I shared numbers on social media before. So this platform that you do this action, banned me for like 5 minutes. It's like the wildest 5 minutes ever. Didn't know what I did wrong and then figured out it's because I said some numbers. So you can find it on our website, greencardguys.com, and it's 3 digits. Okay. I think I can say this. Starts with the number 1. All right. So that's with one of our associates. If you're wondering to speak with me, this does start with the number 2 digit. Okay. Um, but if you're interested in our services, you can avoid having to pay that fee and just authorize us to help you. Okay. And we will make sure, like if for some reason that you did not share everything to our team member, but then by the time you signed up and then within 7 days of you authorizing us, you had the onboard meeting with our attorney, um, and somehow you're not eligible because of new information, then yes, we will refund your money. Okay. At 100%. We're not going to have even though our contract does say non-refundable. So for X amount, I mean, every law firm is like that. Then at least for the non-refundable part is usually the deposit. But in that situation, that's like a money back guarantee in a way, if you think about it. Alrighty. Let's see here. Oh, wow. That's great. Thank you so much for your questions. There's a lot here. I won't, so folks, thank you so much. I won't be able to go through all the questions that we're running down into 1 minute left. But if I have not answered your question yet, please go ahead and message me, DM, because I want to make sure you get the answer you need. Okay. And in some situations, we may just ask you to join the live show again, because sometimes it's easier to reply that way. But the other way I try to respond to questions is record a video. But I just haven't had time the past week. So I know some of y'all have asked me questions as a comment in the videos. I appreciate that. That actually does make it easier for me to record a video. But what's it called? Please know I'm a little backlogged myself since I'm the one responding to the questions. I do have a team member, Maria, helping me out on the DMs. Okay. Peace on TikTok. Your visa was refused in 96. Does it have an effect on your green card? Your son is petitioner. So I think you mean like the new green card application? Well, it depends why your visa was refused in the first place in 1996. And are you in the US now or abroad? Look, folks, if you're able to get a visitor visa, I don't know how to answer your question because I have a follow-up question. I didn't know what happened in 96, right? But in general, just a general tip for everyone, and I can't say it as fully as I want to, but I can tell you we have many clients we are able to obtain the resident status when a person has overstayed their visa. As a licensed attorney, I cannot advocate for you to overstay your visa. Okay. But I can say that if you are not married yet and you're maybe considering to get married or you haven't found the right fit, go ahead and apply for ESTA. Go ahead and apply for a visitor visa in the meantime. Okay. because we're all humans, right? We're not bots. But with that in mind, I think it seems to be human nature that we kind of just wait and wait until ABC event happens, right? Just go ahead and apply for the visitor visa first. Okay, that's just my general recommendation. I'm not literally telling you go apply right now, but because when you finally want to travel to America and you're like, well, shoot, I gotta wait another year for the appointment, right? So you know what I mean? Like, just go ahead and get it secure. Go ahead and do that in general. All right. So that's the last tip I'll share with you. There's so much information I want to share with you. So that's why I try to go live every single day, except maybe not tomorrow. I think I gotta take care of the kiddos that early release today. So alrighty, y'all have a good one. I'll keep you updated. If I cannot join live tomorrow, I'll try to go live tonight. All right. So follow so you get notification. Have a good day. Peace.